Welcome to Theory of Conspiracy. Don't adjust your headset, you are listening to three northern lads from the UK talking about their own beliefs whilst challenging each other's.
Hi TheoCons, please excuse the heavy breathing. I'm currently riding my bike to a country park. So this one's going to go out earlier than usual. This is Corona Part 2. We recorded it on Wednesday the 8th of April. Some of the information might be a couple of days out of date, but I think it's been pretty standard this week. Don't know when the lockdown going to get lifted. 900 plus deaths a day, that sort of thing. Not that we get into the stats that much on this episode. And we've tightened up the editing schedule so that we get it out a lot quicker post the actual recording. That gives you more time to give us any feedback on the podcast and also submit any comments, questions, arguments towards the next podcast, which is going to be recorded on Wednesday the 22nd of April. We're going to do the Mandela effect. Don't think any of us are experts in it. I think we've all heard about it, so be an interesting discussion, as Carlos would say. So yeah, any feedback on this podcast, previous podcasts, or the next podcast, that's great. You can get some audio or video to me, and I can use the audio in the podcast. You can do that via Facebook Messenger. Just find our page, send us a message, hold the record button down, talk away. If you're a bit too shy, just type it, put it on a comment on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. Give us a Apple iPod review. I have access to those. It's a bit hard to see some of the other podcast engines because we're not members of them all, so the best way to contact us is through one of the social media pages, and that is at TheoConPod across all platforms. That's at TheoConPod, and I'll listen back to this recording. Hopefully, if the quality's high enough, this will be my intro. If not, I'll have to re-record it when I get home. The joys. Okay, stay safe, and hope you enjoy this episode. Bye. So let's just do some admin before we start the main content. Doing Corona Part 2 today. And based on some of the posts you were putting on Facebook, Carlos, Darren thinks we're losing credibility by suggesting that coronavirus is nothing other than something natural. So I'm sure that'll probably crop up again in this episode.
Thanks, Darren.
And off the last episode, which was Rendlesham Forest, Stuart says, I'm sure you're from another planet. I assume he's talking about you, Carlos, and not about me.
That was about me as well. Yes, that was about me as well. So thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Stuart.
And Travis also says, ha ha ha, crazy people make me laugh. There we go. I think that was just a general.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. So I also asked for some audio submissions or questions from any listeners if they wanted to post something to us, but I haven't had any. Although I suppose it's early days for that. But yeah, if anyone listening wants to make a comment about any upcoming podcasts or a comment about previous podcasts, we'll play it on the podcast. No problem about that. All you've got to do is go to Facebook and send us a message. Even if it's a video message, don't worry. You can video your audio while pointing your camera at your shoe or something. I don't care. I'll just cut the audio out and use that.
Dude, that's just going to invite a whole world of pain. What have you done?
Right, before we get serious, I've been thinking about this, what I'm about to say next, for a couple of weeks. And I'm trying to get my head around how to get it out there and formulate it. But
is it about Corona?
It is about Corona, yeah. I want to
introduce another era. So you know how we've got the current BC and AD, which was introduced about in 400 AD, which means before Christ and Anno Domini.
You got BCE.
So BCE and CE, this is going off track, but I was looking into this. So people, because before Christ and Anno Domini is it's related to the Christian faith, people are trying to introduce BCE, which means before the current era, and CE, which is the current era, instead of BC and AD, basically.
If you ask atheists would say it's before Christian era.
No, it means before current era.
Oh, I know, that's what I mean. If you ask, that was a joke. If you ask atheists before Christian era, oh my God, I'm on my own here.
Do you know what? Because when you said era, I heard era, and I thought, what? Why is he saying era funny? I get you.
Before Christian era.
Right, yeah, tumbleweed. I wonder in 400 years' time if our ancestors are going to start calling the current period before Corona. 2019, sorry, was before Corona. And
I don't think it's deadly enough. I don't think it's deadly enough to make that much of an impact. I mean, we haven't seen the full extent of it, obviously, yet. And obviously China is lying about their numbers, or certainly seems to be the case. But I don't think that this will go down as the worst plague in years to come.
I agree with you there, Nick, but I was just like, BC meaning before Corona, and AD could mean like after the deaths or whatever. I was just trying to be funny, and I just, someone create a meme for it. That's all I was thinking, but I couldn't really think of a meme. Yeah, so I wasn't being serious because obviously, yeah.
Got you, funny as fuck.
Okay then, so still staying on the slightly surreal topics. Yeah, just going around my head has just been like the amount of influence this whole lockdown across the globe is going to have on things like movies and stuff that's going to come out in the next few years, man. It's just going to be, it is just like some sort of, I can't really think of a film that stands up to it, but these post-apocalyptic films, and you see people emerging after like nuclear strikes and all that sort of thing, like bears coming out of hibernation and coming back out into the world for the first time, or these people that have lived in a bunker all their life, those sort of sci-fi films. Yeah. They've lived in a bunker all their life and they've never known anything, and they've been lied to, and they find out, oh, actually, it's the oxygen's okay, we can go back up now and come out of these bunkers.
There's been plenty of tense times like this. It only feels like that to you now because we're in the middle of it and you're overwhelmed by the shit that's going on. Whereas I think there was plenty of times in the past where, had we experienced them or been closer to it, we would have felt exactly the same, like the bits of the Cold War and the Cuba crisis and other stuff like that.
But what makes me think about that most? It's not when I'm sat in my house and just normal shit's going on, because you just sat in your house. You sit in your house all the time, right? Anyway, don't you? Before the virus, it's when I'm going out. I still go out daily for walks or bike rides or whatever. It is weird, the reduced amount of traffic and everything. And then when I'm going through like the local park that's next door to me, or along the canal or something, it's just I don't know. The wildlife seems to be getting a bit braver because of our absence. I mean, we've lived in this house about 10 years now. Never seen a squirrel from my window, but last week, squirrel hopping along the fence because it was obviously brave enough to cross the road from the park because of the reduced traffic and venture out this far, whereas previously it's not felt it's been able to do that.
I've seen more foxes like walking at night time. I see a fox. I do see foxes, but now I see them every time I go for a walk at night time. I never used to see them. So yeah, you're all right. The animals are becoming more braver. It's like they're rekindling their home again. It's like these horrible demons, what we call human beings, have now been restricted to their homes, and they can recover their habitat again. So maybe when we all look at this, the true benefit will be the planet itself, because you look at all the pollution, less polluted. There's clearly, after what you showed before regarding the amount of aviation going on, there's lots of aviation, but are looking at all the factories and pollution which is being pumped into the air. All that's 20-30% down. You show me pictures of canal systems and streams where people can actually see the bottom of it because there's less obviously less movement, less rubbish, less movement in the water. So I think when the dust settles, I think the planet will probably be the biggest benefactor of all this. I've always said, if the planet dies, we die. If we die, the planet survives.
Yeah, I saw something in the last couple of days of someone sharing like ozone pictures about how the holes in the ozone were shrinking because of the less stuff going on. So yeah, just in a short amount of time, it has started to heal itself, and that also made me think. Even today, I was thinking about it this morning. Maybe governments should impose. Okay, do you know what? For 2 weeks every year, we're going to impose this restriction on movement purely because it benefits the planet. I mean, I can't see them doing that really, but I can see people lobbying for something like that.
The Green Party will probably show some stats. It's like on a smaller scale, Glastonbury do that. Glastonbury have 4 Glastonburys, and on the 5th Glastonbury, they cancel every 5th Glastonbury. Do you know why? To let the grass replenish. That's why.
Yeah, no, I didn't know about that, Carlos, about Glastonbury. I didn't realise it had breaks. To me, it feels like it's on every single year. So I've heard quite a few different conspiracies just bandied around the internet, as you do. Carlos, this one was from you about Chinese mobiles, 20 million Chinese mobiles being offline. 5G causes corona. Other things like, if you inhale steam, you can protect yourself from corona. If you sip water every 15 minutes, you can stop getting corona. And if you want to test yourself at home, you can hold your breath and see if you cough.
Yeah, the mobile one came about when a couple of people started sending me. Since we've done this podcast, it's like a medium. I'm getting all this information from everywhere now. But a few people started sending me, one from America, one from England, and one from Holland. These guys just started pinging me stuff over, and the three of them sort of with 3 different sources as well. It wasn't the same like screenshot or anything. It was the same different sources, and they were saying that China, from the month of December to the month of February, I've lost 21 million phone connections through three different companies, and they just found it quite. They've never reported that many loss of mobile phone connections. So I started delving a little bit deeper into it, and I looked. Okay, there's a few things which could spring to mind. Lack of tourism. I'm sure when people go to China, they'll probably buy a local SIM because obviously it might be cheaper. So I understand that. It could be just dead SIMs. It also could be switching over to 5G. It could. I'm not saying that wouldn't affect it, but I'm just trying to think of reasons why 21 million you can lose 21 million subscribers. And I just started thinking, okay, that's 21 million people to lose in 6 to 8 weeks. And I'm just thinking, it's just coincidental with all this, what was happening in China, especially in Wuhan. Then they've lost all these subscriptions across 3 networks, and they've never lost that many before. Historically, never lost that many.
So are you putting 2 and 2 together and getting the fact that, well, China are lying to us about how many people died because 20 million people must have died because 20 million mobiles have gone missing?
I didn't say 20 million. I just said there could have been a percentage that down to tourism, could be a percentage that down to just dead SIMs, could be a percentage that down to switching over to 5G. That
Go
could
on,
be a percentage.
give us a percent then.
I could say probably anything. Just call it. If you just called it 1%, that's 2,000. That's 200,000 people dead. 1%. I'll just give you 1%. 1% of that is dead people. That's 200, just over 200,000, 210,000 people to be exact. So
Right.
that's completely way off to what they're giving us, 3,100 dead.
What about the people that, just like in this country, you're in lockdown, you have a job that relies on you having to leave the house, your job or company that you work for is not stable enough, they furlough you, you don't know where your money's going to come from, so the first thing you lose is, well, I don't need a mobile phone, cut me off, cut your connection off.
Do you cut it off, or do you just not pay your bill? I don't think you cut it off, because if you need a job, the first thing that someone
Well,
asks you, if
you
you've got a
don't want
job,
to.
you say no. But the first thing you ask is, I can only speak on behalf of what happens in the United Kingdom. What's your email address and what's your mobile number? You can't get a job without either of them. No
If
one
it
will give
was
you. No one will even touch you.
if it was me and the fact that we've got two mobiles in the same house, I'd easily just drop a contract. If I had a contract there where I could just, it was just I was out of contract, I didn't need to pay it, I'd just drop it. I wouldn't not pay my bill, because that then means you got people chasing you for debt in 3 months, which is even worse, because debt then also gets interest. So you bet, if you've got commodities like that you can just go right, bin it. That's one cost I don't need to save me money. Then you do it.
But you won't call that 21,000 people, or 21 million people. That could be, call it, that's just 10%. That's 2 million. Obviously we don't know the exact numbers. We're just speculating. But one thing we do know for sure: 21 million subscribers have vanished within 6 to 8 weeks. 21. There was a video that I was sent. I don't know if I've saved it. I think it may have been deleted off the internet, but I had it saved on one of these social media formats, where they had this. Think of like some kind of scrapyard, and these people were just shoveling in mobile phones into skips, shoveling. And think of a car park full of mobile phones. That's what it looked like, a car park. That has to be tens and tens of thousands of mobile phones to do that.
How do you know that just wasn't footage from a mobile phone reclamation centre and they get that volume of mobile phones through?
Could be.
With,
It could be that, or it could be coincidental that they've
yeah.
lost 21 million phones as
Carlos,
well.
do you think these 20 million people all posted their phone to this guy before they popped their clogs and cancelled their contract?
No, what they did is they take the phones off them, like the Nazis did. They took all your teeth out, they took all your rings off you, they took all your jewelry off you.
Sounds like a
They took, yeah, you
perfectly
said,
normal disposing of mobile phones pictures being wrapped up in a internet wild story about 20 million mobile phones coming off. I mean, I would, without, so before I put any weight behind that, I would want to see what the statistics are monthly anyway for phone contracts coming off in the Chinese network, and I'd want to see some historical statistics that are verified. Until I would see that, I would just put this story down to internet woo woo.
Nick, why the hell do you sound like me? I, I'm exactly the same position. I would want to see those stats as well and verify whatever these stats that Carlos has been sent.
Because I'm not on the fence. I'm not in the field that thinking this is anything more than a freak of nature. One of many times it's happened before, and it'll happen again until the Chinese get a hold of how they prepare and store food, meat, basically.
Right, next one then that am aware of. Everyone's talking about at the moment, and we'll cover it on a separate podcast. But yeah, 5G and the link to 5G. And Carlos, you were sending videos about David Icke has mentioned it and put these two together on a live stream recently.
yeah, what David Icke talks about, and a few people have been talking about, is 5G is a wonderful tool. It's a fantastic tool. You can do amazing things. It makes our lives so much easier. But it's like anything else. Like I've mentioned before, electricity, you can make a room go hot, you can make a room go cold. Knowledge is the same thing. You can do bad things, you can do good things with knowledge. And what the people are piecing together, what 5G has the ability to do, is if you can get to, which 5G can do, 60 gigahertz, it deprives that person of oxygen to their lungs and to their blood. You start suffering respiratory.
I don't know much about 5G, but sounds a bit. Even that sounds a bit flaky. Okay. Well, I don't know enough about that to contest that, but
Even if that was true, there's no link to say that 5G is
Oh no,
causing
they're not saying.
corona. All you're saying is we can replicate similar symptoms.
David Icke's video was taken down on London Real. David Icke, the three of us have actually gone to see David Icke at Wembley about 3 or 4 years ago. And David Icke, everybody knows David Icke has got tens of thousands of hours on YouTube and Netflix and Amazon Prime, and he has completely said some way out there things about the reptilians, about the paedophilia rings, and and consciousness and alien invasion and the moon being a craft. But none of it's been taken down. The moment he starts linking coronavirus, hoax, 5G, bang, completely taken down. The BBC even put a statement out saying that they forced YouTube to take it down. Melanie Dawes, the CEO of Ofcom, has actually put pressure on all mainstream media not to talk about coronavirus, hoax, 5G. So David Icke does the London Real interview. It gets, I think I said it was the second largest stream in the world, and bang, they delete it straight away. They get it off. London Real put it up on YouTube, gets to about 50,000 views, bam, taken away. So what Brian Rose, who heads the podcast, and actually he is London Real, puts it on his web page, and I watched it on the web page about 2.5 hours. It's eye opening. It's up to you. Either you want to believe it or you don't want to believe it. David Icke just says that's the information. It's up to you if you want to believe it.
It's dangerous. That's why. Dangerous. Even if he's right, I mean, it's still dangerous for the mass public to be going, oh, well, David Icke said this is all good, so I'm just going to go out, and then that's just going to mess everything up, isn't it?
I started to watch this Brian Rose thing rebuttal. He was going on about freedom of speech is we're supposed to have freedom of speech and all this lot, and they've taken my video down. I went to the BBC and I looked at that article, and the BBC didn't force YouTube to take it down. So what happened was YouTube have added new rules, and they basically will flag videos and take down any videos that link 5G and COVID-19 because there isn't basically a connection there. Now, there's loads of other algorithms of videos that they also take down. Just so happens that that Ike's other videos don't fall into these things. Also, before I even started looking into this, right, just because of who David Icke is and his agenda and his whole marketing angle for like the past 30 years, right, what better free advertising can he have than for a video to be taken down by the corporations that he says control mainstream media? Because that would only make his content appear even more appealing to his audience. It wouldn't surprise me if Brian Rose, David Icke, when that streaming started, because it was a live stream, it wasn't a recorded video they put up and then it was taken down. It was a live stream. So and obviously they knew that live stream was going to go on for a couple of hours. They would have planned an agenda to talk about things, right? They would have gone, right, we're going to do this live stream. As that live stream starts, they start hitting social media with it because they want these viewers, right? And these viewers, like you said, it had 60,000 viewers, right, which was great. So they hit the media really hard.
Second largest in the world.
Right.
So
All right,
people are interested.
Okay, you don't have to keep going on about it, but
Yeah, but you have to say that people are interested, though. People are interested.
Second largest what?
Live stream in the world.
second largest watched live stream in the world. I don't know. I don't know those stats. I don't know if that is true or not, and that doesn't make any difference.
Doesn't sound right.
What it does show, yeah, I would expect it to be a lot more. What it does show though is that they've hit social media hard. They've hit Twitter, Facebook, every other channel they can think of hard to get people to tune in right there and then in that 2 hour window and watch it, right? At the same time, it would not surprise me if they have flagged up to BBC, Sky News, everyone saying, look at this, look at what we're doing, look at what we're doing. And they flagged it up themselves. And it wouldn't even surprise me if they then went onto the
You can't
YouTube.
say that, man. You're just surmising.
No, listen, do you know what?
Slanderous.
No, it's not slanderous because this is an amazing advertising scam. It's free advertising for them.
But that's standard marketing.
Exactly. Flag
crap.
their own
Anyway,
video.
They would do that with every guest.
Flag
They'd be reminiscent of them not to.
No. Flag their own video and get it taken down because all of a sudden that supposedly because their video has been taken down, that adds some sort of credibility to it.
Just anybody with common sense can see it's been taken down because it's dangerous, because the climate we're in now. They want one message. They want one message from one source, and they want people to obey it. It's as simple as that. And people like this guy with some influence and some crazy thoughts They don't need that. There's enough shit on the internet already. They don't need that chugging up the airwaves as well, especially when it's probably woo woo at best.
But no, but Andy, it's the content that gives it credibility. And I've watched the video twice now, and there's some so there's interesting information what comes out of it, where the guy who invented the machine that does the test for coronavirus, the RT-qPCR, is called Kary Mullis. I think it's invented in 1984. Has gone on record to say, my machine is not designed to look for infectious diseases. Why are they using it? They're using his machine. He's gone on record. David Icke puts his video on the actual on his website. The guy who invented the machine we are using to detect COVID-19, he says it doesn't look for that. It doesn't look for COVID-19. It looks for other symptoms. So, and that's another discussion for another time. But I started looking at goes, the guy who invented it, he's saying his machine is not designed to look for COVID. It's designed to look for other things. Why are they using my machine? He's saying.
So we've got Ike's word to say there's just one machine designed by
No,
one guy, or
Kary
what?
Mullis, the guy who designed the RT-qPCR, so PCR I should say, his machine is the machine that detects for COVID-19. He has gone on record on David's website. My machine does not find COVID-19. It's not designed for that. It's not designed for looking for infectious diseases.
I've seen them on the news talking about this PCR machine, and apparently every lab in the country's got one. It's a standard bit of kit. So they must be using it for, it must be able to detect antibodies or viruses or.
Yes, antibodies, but not for, it detects exosomes, poisonous cells, but not COVID-19. That's what Kary Mullis has said. And he invented it in 1984.
So it might not be able to detect COVID-19, but if it can detect all the cells having, like, so, like cells in your lung that start to fibrose or whatever the term is.
Exosomes, it's things like exosomes. How that brings on is poisonous exosomes. And do you know what brings that on? Fear and stress. It's pretty much most of the world's going through fear and stress now, losing their jobs, the economy, people losing their homes, people can't afford to pay their credit card bills, mortgages, XYZ. This exosome, this machine looks for things like exosomes, which poisonous cells, which is brought on by fear and stress. It amplifies it. That's what it talks about. It amplifies it. And that's what they're looking for. So technically, everybody's got COVID-19. It's like everybody is born with cancer, but it takes something to sugar it off.
It just all sounds like rubbish, Carlos.
It's easy to say rubbish, but this is what the guy, Kary Mullis, is saying. He invented the fucking machine. He invented it.
Yeah, we'll have to look into why he's saying they can't use it and why they are using it, and they're trying to use it in every single test in the country, because this is one of the machines that they're using to gear up the number of tests they're taking.
That's why they're taking him down, because he's hitting a nerve. He's hitting a nerve. He's got it right. People say, oh, the clock theory. He's got it right, this one. This is his Concorde moment.
They didn't take it down because of it. They took it down because David Icke started going on about 5G, causing it.
Also, the stats for coronavirus or COVID-19 death is going through the roof. It's like, for example, Eddie Large. Eddie Large has had heart trouble for 10, 15 years. And he didn't die of coronavirus. He died after testing positive for coronavirus. So Nick, God forbid, Nick could have terminal cancer. He could have fucking heart disease, syphilis, gout, everything, you name it. But he tests positive for COVID-19. Nick died of COVID-19. No, died after testing positive for COVID-19. That adds to the stats. He didn't die of anything else, what he's been suffering for the last 10, 15 years. He just died after testing positive for COVID-19. That's where they start manipulating figures and numbers and stuff like that. Hence why we're all on house arrest, you should say.
So you're saying that Eddie Large, his time was up and he was just going to die anyway?
Yes. He was 82,
and
heart condition.
And he wouldn't have lived another 6 months, another 12 months, 2 years, if it wasn't for him getting the virus.
It's just tens of thousands of people die every single day. Every single day. It's just his time was died that day. It's just coincidental. He didn't die in January. We had Corona. He didn't die in February. He didn't die in March. He died in April. That's his time was in April.
He had a new heart. I think he got a new heart about 15 years ago. I don't think there was anything wrong with his current heart.
George Best died after getting a new liver.
Yeah, he also kept drinking. So, are you saying then that if we look at the daily average death rate in the UK for the last 10 years, and it runs at, let's say it's 10,000 people a day, and then we come to now, and you're saying it's still 10,000 people a day, they're just categorising 8,000 of those as having corona or whatever, however many, to 1,000 of
It
those
looks like
currently.
I've not got the figures in front of me, but it looks like people who were. Let's go back to the David Icke videos. He's put doctors saying, "I've got patients coming in with who've had lung disease, lung cancer, and they're dying, but we're putting on their death certificates, died after testing positive for COVID-19. You didn't die of fucking lung cancer. They didn't die of heart disease or the terminal cancer you've had for 4 years. They've died of COVID-19.
I think they're saying that if if your body's in a weakened state for whatever reason, and you catch COVID, it's gonna polish you off. There's a good chance it's gonna polish you off.
I looked into the weekly death figures. So in the UK, the average over the last 5 years, they're published every week. So you basically look up, right, okay, we're currently in like week 13 of the year, or week 14 or 15 or whatever week it is. But you can see the whole week from 1 to 52. You can look it up. And the average it's between sort of like 10,000 and 13,000, and you get, so you get the figure for last week, and it never runs perfectly. It's always a couple of weeks behind, but you'll get the figure. You get the last weekly published figure, and it'll say, okay, there's 11,500, and then you can look at the average over the last previous 5 years on the line below it, and it might say it's 10,500, or it might say it's 12,500, right? But I know we're talking about current figures. Like there was 850 yesterday. There was 900 and something yesterday.
940 or something like that.
Yeah, and the day before it was 850. The day before that it was 700. These figures for this week won't come out for like till next week or the week after, when they've all been collated. So you're still looking at figures from 2 weeks ago when the deaths were still really quite low. It's a couple of hundred, if that.
The deaths will probably be a lot lower. Do you know why? Because there probably won't be a lot of road accidents.
That's my other thing. Think of how many deaths aren't happening because we're all on lockdown.
What people are saying is, it's not so much the death rate; it's what they are diagnosing the death. If only 1 or 2 people are dying a day, then you've got no power to close down schools, companies, communities, cities. But once you start getting the numbers of 1,000 plus a day, you can close down everything.
We were in lockdown well before the numbers got high, like they are. They were like in the low hundreds when we went into lockdown 2 weeks ago. So you don't have to wait until the thousands per day.
So, what do you think the reason is then, Carlos?
It's a form. What my personal opinion, it's a form of control. It's you're becoming
It's
some more an
expensive
obedient society.
experiment.
It's expensive, but it's short-term pain, long-term gain. So in the long run, they'll be able to say, for example, once we come out of this, say in July, August time, we come out of this. In September, October, November, when flu season kicks back in, remember, this is flu-like symptoms again. So flu season kicks back in again. We'll be able to close everything down within 24 hours, not 3 or 4 weeks down the line. We'll be able to close it down, and you will not be able to challenge it. The police now are actually monitoring everyone. I think in places in Derbyshire now, they've got drones watching people now. Drones watching people taking the dogs for a walk. That's 1984. What kind of world are we living in? And we're letting it happen. I'm not saying there isn't a pandemic, but we are willing to give away our liberty for extra security. And as Benjamin Franklin once said, if you give away your liberty for more security, you don't deserve liberty or security. I don't know a single person who's got coronavirus yet. I know people who have got symptoms, but I don't know a single person who's got coronavirus.
That's because the UK testing is a joke, Carlos. That's why. And we're months away from an antibody test.
But you know, this antibody test, Bill Gates is coming up with a vaccine for all the coronavirus vaccine, and it's called a quantum tattoo. So, if you don't get this vaccine, you won't be allowed on any public transport. You won't be allowed to fly, but unless you get this vaccine, which is being created by Bill Gates at the moment.
How can he create a vaccine when we don't know what the vaccine is?
Because he's funding the WHO, and do you know who else? Do you know the two biggest contributors to the WHO is? Have a guess. The two biggest people. Bill Gates is one. Who the other person is, or the other country?
China.
China is the biggest contributor to the WHO. China is.
I thought America was the biggest contributor.
No, China and Bill Gates. Bill Gates is a huge
Are
contributor.
you sure? Yeah, probably.
I
But I
know.
thought America was the biggest.
I know China are the biggest. How do I know that? Is WHO have been mirror imaging what China have been saying.
If you go on to Greater Manchester News, Manchester Evening News, there's an article on there about 100 days COVID-19. If you search for that, and they basically break down all the key dates, and you're absolutely right. It does state on there that early on in the early days of it, before they knew what was happening, they said they didn't say it couldn't. They said it's not probable that it's going from human to human, but they were wrong because it was just too early. We don't
No, that's
even
what
know.
China was saying.
Yes, yeah, I know, but just because China, China were wrong in the first 14 days of the outbreak, basically.
If China would have been truthful from the beginning, the experts have said they could have locked down 95% of the countries 3 weeks earlier. With an extra 3 weeks' notice, 95% could have been saved, by locking down.
I don't think it was a truthful. I think it was just what they knew about the virus at the time.
I think they knew, because obviously Russia locked down pretty straight away, and they got 2,600 miles of border with them. They're locked down pretty straight away.
All right. So what do you think about these frigging inhaling steam and sipping water and cough test emails banding around?
It's it's the same as it's a coronavirus version of forward this email on, or your next 6 relatives are all gonna get grey hair or die or something equally as ridiculous. It's the same as that. I mean, 90% of it is,
Yeah,
I
you're
posted
gonna
a
have
video
bad
the other
luck.
day from some doctor from London that was quite a good video, but this was a video straight from the ICU about teaching people how to breathing techniques if they're struggling to breathe. Like, it was quite interesting. I'll repost it in the chat, and you can stick a link to it if it's on the podcast, if it's relevant.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've not seen that one. If it's something useful, my pet hate is spam. Anything that says send this to all your friends,
Yeah.
annoys the hell out of me. I have a go at my mum and my relatives that forward stuff on because they should know better.
Mm-hmm.
My sister-in-law, I had a rant at her, and I'm just like, oh, just think about it. These people that just want to get kudos from social media because they were the first to forward some absolute bollocks. Because they don't care. They're not doing it. They're not doing it for selfless reasons. It's purely selfish because they think, oh, I'm going to get a big smiley fucking face because I've shared this and I shared this first. And what are you sharing that for? I shared that 3 weeks ago. Shut up. Think about what you're fucking doing. Oh,
No, it's the same. It's like back to the question you asked regarding the steam and all, because Joe Rogan actually asked that question, because Joe Rogan's a big fan of saunas and steam and he's a big drinker of water, and his professional disease expert says it's bollocks. And Joe Rogan's head fell out. Ooh.
that's the first bit of sense I've heard on a Joe Rogan podcast ever, man.
Dude, you've never even listened to Joe Rogan podcast. What are you talking about?
Joe Rogan's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant.
Tumbleweed.
Are we going to go back to the same world we left, or will it be a different world?
I've been saying this since weeks before, man. The world will never be the same place again. And regardless of how we got here and we're in lockdown, this has not been perpetrated by some mastermind to change the way we're all going to think after this is all over. Yes, it's going to be natural for us when lockdown ends. A lot of people are probably going to think lockdown's not ended soon enough. I need to get back to work and earn some money. A lot of people are going to think lockdown's ended too soon. I'm a vulnerable person. Last thing I want to do is send my kid to school. They mix with other children. They pick it up and bring it home. What's the whole point of me self-isolating for 12 weeks if that's what I've been told to do? I know people in both of those scenarios. But you're absolutely right. When we all start emerging and going out for that first time, it is going to be surreal. It is going to be like some sort of weird sci-fi film. And I think people, you are still going to keep a distance because we will not have been told that, right, the virus is gone. It's not. You're still just as vulnerable. You don't know what circles any other people, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's you, Carlos, whether it's you, Nick. I don't know what other social circles you have. And the same even with close family, your brothers, your sisters, whatever, you don't know who they're mixing with. So, and this is exactly how the virus spreads. We do know 100% it gets passed person to person. So it's gonna be crazy, man. The world will never be the same place. That's why that was my whole thing about that whole AD BC thing before Corona. It's you remember before Corona? Remember BC? It was like this.
I don't think it'll make that big an impact.
Stick around for some bloopers and sound bites taken out of context that didn't make the edit for this episode, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
It's be interesting. So I need to research a Mandela effect, do I? Good luck making a podcast out of that, mate. Good luck. BAFTA's on the way, Andy. Keep it up.
Shut up. Think about what you're fucking doing. Oh.
You're just going to have to wade through mountains of videos of God knows what.
You'd love that, Nick.
There's crazy people everywhere.
Can't believe it. Nick, they're censoring me. I knew it. That's it.
Well, that's why I didn't say any bloody names, but I asked the question discreetly.
Lost to Corona.
Just in case we get confused with all these other Carloses on the chat.
That's the first bit of sense I've heard on a Joe Rogan podcast ever, man.
Dude, you've never even listened to Joe Rogan podcast. What are you talking about?
If I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Bang. I've probably been banged up.
I've told you to stop wearing that balaclava in public.
Must be another podcast. Oh, so many podcasts.
Walking down Talbot Road, near the cricket club. I was walking up that way, so literally...
Carlos, you don't know who's listening to this, so why don't you just give out your GPS coordinates to make it easier for all the people that want to kill you? So Carlos's current location is 52.129.
Will there be strippers? Wait, can we just get it clear?
Day in, day out, you hear about this happening to kids, that happening to kids, people trying to get them in vans and cars and shit and all sorts of stuff.
How do you think I met Nick?
Yeah, bundled him in the back of my car. It was because he was wearing that little dress. It really worked for me.
Carlos, marry, kiss, avoid. 3 people: Joe Rogan, David Icke, Brian Rose. Go.
What's that? Marry, kiss, or destroy?
Avoid.
Marry. So it's David Icke, Joe Rogan, or Brian Rose.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
You want to marry them all, don't you?
Carlos, just the fact that you're even thinking about it shows how fucking gay you are. Just shut up and move on.
I love all 3 of them.
Exactly. Exactly. You'd love to be in a train with the 3 of the fuckers.